Doing? This is the Reach Over Culture podcast, episode 21. This is episode 21, debuting live on our first episode of our radio show. It is I, as your brother Rock, coming to you like I always do. It's great to be back. If you don't know, now you know. For everybody that's listened to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, I have now converted the show over into a radio show. It's still identified as Reach Over Culture Podcast, but all the shows that you will be hearing now will be live, where you can actually call in and talk with me, talk with any one of the guests that I have on, so that you can actually lively be a part of the Reach Over Culture Podcast. I'm excited to launch this new system, and I think it's gonna be dope, man. I think we're gonna have some special guests. It's one thing for me to listen to podcasts, and I love listening to podcasts. It's another thing for me to actually be able to call in and listen in live, as well as chat with a lot of the guests that may or may not be on. So the number to call in is 323-443-7426, 323-443-7426, and see when we're going live. Typically, we'll try to have a show every Monday and Wednesday. You can catch us around the same time, 6:30. You can call in and discuss whatever we're discussing at the time. Tonight, it's just a special flagship show where whoever calls, we just talk about whatever. We talk about, where's the playoffs, Endgame just came out, just whatever y'all want to talk about, we can talk about. Usually I'll start off with, these types of episodes with a short Devo, and we'll jump right into the callers and just see what we get, man. Again, the number is 323-443-7426, going live every Monday and Wednesday. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at ReachOverCulture. And follow our Facebook as well, facebook.com/ReachOverCulture. I want to jump into the Devo that I have for today. This month, we are focusing on mental health awareness. And mental health is something that's actually very, very near and dear to my heart, being that I've been through counseling. I've had my own struggles with depression as far as mental health is concerned. Mental health does run in my family, or the awareness of mental health does run in my family. So it's something I wanted to dedicate this month, May being Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we're going to have a few episodes touching on that this month as well. And today I wanted to kind of just share this short 10-minute Devo that I had. I was reading the story of Joseph. And I just been studying the story of Joseph, studying the story of him being sold into slavery by his own brothers because of their jealousy and envy of him having his father's love. They sell him into slavery, and you can find this around Genesis 35. They sell him into slavery, right? He's in Pharaoh's court. And then he's actually cast off the prison. From being in Pharaoh's court, he's cast off the prison. He's left there for 2 years. 2 years before Pharaoh actually calls on him to come out of prison and to interpret dreams that he's been having. And what's amazing about this entire story is, despite any and everything that Joseph is going through, he still finds the story, the way of forgiveness and, purpose and different things like that. How does this relate to mental health? So I'm thinking about mental health today, and I'm thinking about just this month and different things that I want to talk about. Today, I wanted to talk about pain. For anybody who has struggled with mental health, they know it's a certain amount of pain that comes with it. It's painful to think about just the voices in your head that's continuously telling you what you can and can't do. Like for people who struggle with anxiety, people who struggle with depression, it usually starts in the head. And it's painful. It's painful emotionally. It's painful spiritually. It's a lot of pain that comes with dealing with a mental health issue. I just want to talk about the pain, and just pain in general. Pain that we go through when we lose a family member. Pain that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Whether you've suffered an injury or gotten into it with somebody, or had a disappointment hit you in life, just pain in general. And the title of my talk today is that pain has a purpose. Pain has a purpose. And what do I mean by this? First point is, why I want to talk about why is there pain. Usually I talk to a lot of people who are atheists or just believe in something else, typically not Christians or Christians, but don't really understand how there can be a God that's so gracious and so merciful and loves us so much, but allows us to go through pain. And they normally ask me, like, why does God? That's one of the first questions you get from somebody that's not a believer. It's how do you believe in a God that allows you to go through pain when he's such a good, awesome, and mighty God? And I was thinking about that today, and I really believe that pain is here to test us. Pain is here as a test to us. When you're thinking about sports, right? You think about sports. Typically, the worst part of basketball to me was preseason, because you go into off season and while you're working out, it's not as hard as you were during the season, and you get to about August, September, and coaches got about a month to get you prepared to go a full season. And the workouts, running, drills, different things that you're doing is heightened 10 times more, because he has about a month to get you prepared for what's about to happen for the season. It's a lot of pain, right? A lot of people don't like working out in general because it's a lot of pain. But there's purpose to that pain, even in working out. To work out, a lot of times trainers will tell you, we're just going to try certain stuff to test your pain tolerance, because pain is here to test you. It's here to see how far are you willing to go to get what you need to get accomplished, while pushing through all these emotions that's telling you what you can and can't do. Pain is here to test us. In James 1, 2-3, it says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow." Your faith is going to be tested, right? Why is pain here? Pain is the ultimate test of faith. When you're hurt, it's the ultimate test of how you can forgive somebody, when Jesus has called us to forgive 70 times 7. And if I got that wrong, apologize. But he's called us to forgive 70 times 7. Your pain is going to be a test to your faith on how quickly you forgive somebody. Pain, here to test your faith in God when you're disappointed something financially didn't come through. A spouse cheated on you. You experienced the traumatic injury when you've went your whole life injury-free. A lot of these athletes that have ACL tears out of nowhere, pain, absolute pain, and their faith is tested. Their faith in themselves, their faith in themselves as an athlete. You got a lot of athletes that's on scholarships that never come back as normal, because they weren't able to handle the pain well, and they're afraid to tear their ACL. Again, pain is here as an ultimate test to us. Even when you look at the life of Joseph. Joseph, can you imagine being sold by 7 brothers that's supposed to protect you? Joseph was the baby brother. And he was sold by seven of his older brothers into slavery because of the jealousy and envy, when originally they were planning to kill him. I can only imagine the pain and feeling of betrayal that comes from his brothers wanting to sell him into slavery, only because he was just being open and honest with them about things that God was showing him. It's pain, but it was there to test Joseph, okay? Second point, because there's pain and because God allows pain on the earth here to test us and to test our fortitude, to test our faith, I think for that simple fact alone, that brings me to my second point. God does not waste pain. God doesn't waste your pain. He doesn't waste the things that happen to you in life. He doesn't take it lightly. He doesn't just laugh at the fact that you have to go through certain things to get to a certain point in life, that you have to cross certain roads, that you have to get through certain obstacles. He doesn't place certain things in your life, and he doesn't allow you to make mistakes so that he can laugh at your pain. He doesn't waste your pain. You think about somebody that's gotten a DUI, right? The costs and the prices and the fees of a DUI is out of this world, and thankfully, if you're lucky enough not to have gotten in an accident or caused harm to somebody else's family, the lash that you get from the justice system on the back end is absolutely, like, it's unraveling. They treat it as if you were about to murder somebody, and that can be a painful situation. Constant court fees, breathalyzers in your car, just different things like that. And I'm talking from close experience. You can take everything that's happening to you and chalk it up to, it was my mistake and now I'm suffering the consequences. But again, God does not waste your pain. He's not looking at you in this situation and saying, oh yeah, you're stupid, you're dumb, and you deserve what you got. No, this is an opportunity for you to speak to other people about drinking and driving. It's an opportunity. God doesn't frown upon women that have babies at an early age. It's not frowned upon. He doesn't love you any less. But what do you do with the trials and tribulations that you're struggling with having an early pregnancy, having pregnancy at an early age, and how do you use that to counsel and to minister to other young women to not go down the same path that you went, while knowing that the child is a blessing, but letting young women know the child is a blessing, but the back end, the pain that you deal with and that you struggle with going through life for something that you didn't plan for, it can make you or break you. God doesn't waste our pain. He doesn't waste our nights that we're crying out to him about being overlooked in certain situations, or about being in a certain financial place, or just pain that we feel in general. He doesn't waste it. And that's great, because that leads me to my next point. That's great. That leads me to my next point. Because God doesn't waste pain, my third point, there's a purpose attached to your pain. Now, speaking on the topic of God not wasting pain, still going to the story of Joseph. When you go from chapters 39 through about 43, 44, it's pretty much going through the story of how he was taken from jail because he was given a gift of telling dreams. He tells Pharaoh his dreams, and Pharaoh restores him to number 2 over all of Egypt. You're talking about one of the biggest empires in the world at the time. He makes him number 2 over all of Egypt. All of Egypt has to answer to Joseph, because it's Pharaoh and then it's him. God didn't waste Joseph's pain in the situation. It was an opportunity for him to sharpen Joseph, for him to really hone in his gift of telling and interpreting dreams. And he built Joseph with enough resilience, and Joseph had enough resilience and discipline not to ever shun God or look at God crazy, or maybe he did, but not to ever get off of the path that God had set for him, and not to shortcut it, and to take the pain that he was dealing with, ball it up, and use it to prepare for the time that Pharaoh would actually call on him. But God didn't waste Joseph's pain. Egypt, all of Egypt, was able to survive a famine because of Joseph's resilience. Joseph had to go through pain in order for a nation to survive. And what I mean by that, if you look at the text, Pharaoh had a dream of 7 cows swallowing 7 cows, 7 barns of wheat swallowing 7 barns of wheat. And pretty much Joseph interpreted the dreams and said there'd be 7 years of prosperity, and then 7 years after that, there'd be a famine. And so what he did was he took crops for an entire time and pretty much continued to sow double. Actually, I think it was 5 times the amount of crops he would usually do to save for the famine that would eventually come. God didn't waste Joseph's pain. Now, why is there a purpose attached to your pain? There was a purpose attached to Joseph's pain. If we go to Genesis 45, give me one moment. Let's go to Genesis 45. Let's go to line 7. He has just revealed to his brothers that he is Joseph. He is the man that they've sown in slavery so many years later. And he's pretty emotional. And he tells his brothers this. This is 45:7. And I'm reading out of the NLT. He says, God has sent me ahead of you to keep you and your families alive and to preserve many survivors. So it was God who sent me here, not you. And he is the one who made me an advisor to Pharaoh, the manager of his entire palace and the governor of all of Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and tell him, this is what your son Joseph said. God has made me master over all the land of Egypt. So come down to me immediately. Just in that one sentence alone, you see forgiveness, you see prosperity, and you see a prophecy fulfilled. If you go back books, God told Abraham, I will make you a great nation. Or he told Jacob, I will make you a great nation. He told Abraham his descendants would multiply more than the stars. Understand, Jacob is a descendant of Abraham, Joseph being Jacob, who is now Israel's son. When you look at how Israel got to Egypt, here's your answer. If Joseph hadn't gone through what he'd gone through, gained the favor that he gained with the Pharaoh, and went through the pain that he went through, his family, being Israel, who turned out to be Israel, would have not survived the famine and would have not even made their way to be in Egypt. Now, granted, they get enslaved for about 400 years, but that's a different story for a different day. But understand that your pain is attached to a greater purpose than yourself. And as long as we can remember that, I think it makes it easy to go through certain seasons of pain. When you understand that pain is here to test us, when you understand that God doesn't waste your pain and he doesn't laugh at it and he doesn't take it lightly. He wants you to succeed through your pain and understand that there's a purpose attached to your pain. When we can understand those 3 concepts, especially when we're talking about mental health, a lot of times I would look at myself and look at the depression I was going through and think, man, what is the purpose for this? And then I started to think about all of my family members that deal with depression. And even my wife's side, who struggle with mental health issues on their own side. And understand that generations and generations of us, especially us being in the Black community, struggle with mental health and don't take it as serious as we need to. And understand that this stops with me and my family, that my sons or daughters or Shout out to my brother Rob, who's about to have a kid. My godchild. Like, we can be the catalyst for change in both of our families. And that the pain that I've experienced dealing with depression, dealing with bipolar, dealing with different mental health issues, because I've went through it and I've addressed it, and I know how to fight it now. This can stop with me instead of going on to my son and then his son and then his son and then his daughter and his daughter. All right, so remember those three things. Being on the topic of mental health, remember those three things, man. Pain is here to test us. That's the first point. God doesn't waste your pain. That's the second point. And then the third point is God, there's a purpose attached to your pain. It's not enjoyable. It's just not it. But there's a purpose attached to it, and I believe that God will fulfill you through whatever pain that you're going through, to get to the ultimate purpose that he has for us, that he has for your family, okay? So that's my spill. That's my Devo for today. Shout out to all the reachers that's tuned in right now. Yeah. Reach over culture.